Welcome back to my darkroom. Today we are going to be looking at the newly introduced K-14 Kodachrome film and home processing kit. Kodachrome was discontinued back in 2009. In 2017, they said that they may look at what it would take to bring it back, and then nothing was heard since then. Apparently, they have been working on it quietly behind the scenes, and what they have come up with is a reintroduction of Kodachrome 64, got a couple of sample rolls that they sent me, and a home processing kit. Now, they haven't given me a whole lot of information about this, so I don't know what size, packaging, and whatnot it comes in. Watch for their official announcement later today, and it should go over all the specifics. What I have is a developer kit, a bleach, and a fix. So the film itself is basically the same Kodachrome 64 as what used to be around, but what they have told me is the exposure had to have a red exposure through the base side and a blue exposure from the emulsion, or maybe the other way around. What they have done is used new sensitizers since then so that you can expose the whole roll to the red light and then subsequently to a blue light, and it doesn't matter base or emulsion because the sharp cutting sensitizers aren't going to affect the different layers. So that's what's allowed us to do from a home kit. So what you'll need, aside from the film and then the developer and stuff, is an LED light that has sharp cutting RGB lights on it. You only need the red and the blue. So I'm going to be using this here, and it says I have to put it about 12 to 18 inches above, and then just expose the film on the reel for about a minute. So we'll get into all that as we go along. So this is probably going to take a long time because I've got my times and steps here, and as you can see, there's a lot of steps. So today we're only going to be going through the process, and then next week we're going to take my other roll they sent me. We're going to do a H&D curve set, and we're going to compare that to E100 Ektachrome. And so we'll look at those two sets of curves side by side, and we'll do some side-by-side shot comparisons so you can see kind of the color differences between Kodachrome and E6. So let's go ahead and move the cameras over here. I've got everything warming up. It is still at 100 degrees, just like any other color film. And we'll go through all the steps. So let's move over and get started. You're going to see a bunch of bottles. I've got 8 bottles in here right now. I'll just briefly go through the steps. I've got my list here. Each step is going to be followed by a rinse, which I'm just going to do the Ilford washing step. So water with 5 inversions and water with 10, water with 20. And that should take care of that. I've got a Rem Jet Removal. I don't know why there's a Rem Jet coating on this unless they are reintroducing this to the film industry, which could be. I mean, that's why it was out there for a long time anyway. Technicolor, I believe. So there's a Rem Jet Removal step, and I ran out of bottles, so it's in a measuring cup. Then we've got our first developer, which is a phenidone hydroquinone black and white film developer. Because this film is basically just a black and white film. It's just we're going to have different developers for it. So between every step is going to be a wash. So a lot of water here. So first developer, then we have our red exposure, then a cyan developer, blue exposure, yellow developer, magenta developer. There is no green exposure, and that's because that's the only layer left. So we shouldn't have to do anything exposure-wise, because that's the only silver to go. These were like a part A and B, mixing them up. This had a part C, which makes me think there's probably a chemical foggant in it. So then we've got a conditioner, which if I understand right, with the E6 process, there's a conditioner that's like a pre-bleach conditioner. Well, here's my bleach and here's my conditioner before the bleach step. So that would make sense for like dye stability. then we have a bleach, then we have a fixer, and then wash. There's no stabilizer, so I'm going to use photo flow just for water drops, but there's no stabilizer, so I'm assuming that's the conditioner step here. Takes care of the stability. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. I've got my film loaded and everything preheated. It is 100 degrees, so let's do the Rem Jet. Try not to spill. Oops. Alright. Okay, and you can see that's the Rem Jet Removal step. Pretty nasty. And now we're going to do some water rinses. And when you're doing a Rem Jet removal like this, you just want to keep rinsing until you don't see any more color come out. Once it runs clear, you should be good to go. Alright, that was my third rinse, and we're clear. So we're good to go to the next step. Alright, first developer. And this is going to be for 2 minutes. Oops, let me get my cap over here where I can reach it. I have a disaster. So I'm going to try to do this so you can see it on camera. Two minutes. Okay, we just agitate 5 seconds every 30 seconds. Pretty standard Kodak agitation scheme. I was watching Nico's show the other day when he was talking about when he was testing out the Kodak Gold, and he said, you know, it's really hard to get these films and not be able to talk about it until they say you can. And I fully understand what that's like with this, because I've been wanting to scream about it for a while, but contractual obligations and all. I don't want to get on their bad list and not be able to get stuff in the future. And some of the information that I have is going to seem incomplete, like package size and price and all that, because I'm not in touch with Eastman Kodak, the engineers, because if I were, I'd have a ton of questions. I'm not that channel Smarter Every Day, where you can get a guided tour of the factory for multiple videos. I'm a small channel. I get Kodak Alaris, who emails me and says, we've got this film and developer, you want to try it? Great, keep your mouth shut. That's pretty much the deal I get. Okay, so 2 minutes, done. And now we wash. And now, after that, we've got the cyan developer next. Sorry, not talking to the mic. So I've got the cyan developer next, but I've got to get the red exposure. So I've got my LED light right here. Oops, turned the wrong thing. And we're just going to expose the film. I'll try to do it, move it here so I can do it on camera. I've got to take it out of the reel, but I need to turn off my other lights real quick. You want to be about 12 inches or so away. Just really make sure You're getting everything. You can take it off the spiral, that's okay. With it being wet, it's hard to get back on there. So I think that's why they have the 1 minute exposure time at about 12 inches, because that makes sure you get plenty of exposure for the red layer. And since they put these new sensitizers that keep it from accidentally exposing the other color layers, there's no danger here. But that means, from what I understand, what little bit they did tell me, if you're going to try to expose and develop the old Kodachrome stuff, this will do it. These are the same steps, but it doesn't have these same sensitizers, and so you're going to have to be extremely careful on how you expose the red and the blue, so that you're not exposing the wrong side and ruining it. But honestly, at this point, whoops, I'm moving my camera. Honestly, at this point, that film was probably so fogged I wouldn't use it anyway. Okay, now get this out of the way for now. We'll bring that back for the blue exposure in just a moment. So now let's do the cyan developer. And for those of you that aren't familiar with this process versus E6, E6 and C41 has the dye couplers in the film. And so the developer is just forming the dye from the couplers as it's already in there. This film, on the other hand, let's see, 2 minutes. This film, on the other hand, is black and white film, and the couplers are in the developer itself. That's why you have a different developer for each color layer. And so you have to re-expose each color layer and develop them individually. Because otherwise it's just a black and white film. Okay, now we're going to do another wash, and then we'll do the blue light exposure. Okay, here's our blue exposure. And then again, the other thing that they were able to tell me, which again was not a whole lot, and I'm talking to like the media relations people at Kodak Alaris, so again, it's not the engineers at Eastman. The whole reason they discontinued is because the only reason to make these dye couplers was for K-14, and they just weren't selling enough to justify keep making this expensive stuff. So, oh good, I'm starting to see images on there. The only reason that this actually became a possibility was because there's a different industry outside of photography, and they didn't say what. But they wanted to buy the couplers for whatever reason. I would guess it's probably for the textile industry, maybe. But they wanted the couplers, so because they've got this large buyer and a reason to produce these couplers, we are getting the benefit of actually having a developer again. But there are no more K-14 machines. They're all dismantled and gone. So the only option, other than trying to build an entire lab infrastructure, was to make it a at-home lab process. And that's where we're at now. Okay, that's my minute. Turn that off, and we're done with our LED and yellow developer. And this one's going to be 3 minutes. Okay. And now another wash. Alright, and now we can go straight to the magenta developer. Like I said, it's got a chemical foggant. The only remaining layer is our green layer. Or, yeah, green layer. So, no need to physically expose it. Ooh, that's full. Oops. And this is 4 minutes. Now we'll do another wash, and then our conditioner for 1 minute. And 1 minute. I tell you, it gets hot in here with all this hot water, lights on me, not running my fan so you can hear me. Oops, nope, don't take that off. Agitate. Starting to sweat. Okay, and then straight into bleach apparently. I didn't check that. Thought there's going to be a rinse. There's not a rinse, it's straight to the bleach. Okay, and that's 5 minutes. And I thought maybe this was going to be similar to like a C41 bleach, but it's not green, it's red. So it must be like an E6 bleach maybe. And I'm making a mess. Okay. Bleach is done. Now we do a rinse and then our fixer. Now fixer. And it's going to be for 3 minutes. Fixing step is done. Now, final wash, and like I said, I'm going to photo flow just to make the water run off. Photo flow, let's make sure it's mixed up. Okay. Alright, well it's definitely blue. We won't know until it's dried, but I've got images on there. But this has taken this has taken about 40 minutes to develop a roll of film. So it's a long process so far. A lot of steps. It's fairly straightforward, and the developing times are short. I mean, like 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But it adds up, especially with all the rinses in between. Let me turn the water off. Especially with all the rinses in between. So make sure you give yourself enough time. It is pretty awesome that this is making a reintroduction, re-debut, whatever you want to call it. But this is taking way too long today. So we're going to have to do the comparison to E100 next time, because this is Thursday. I've now spent tomorrow, so I've got to put this out. I don't have time to shoot E6, do another batch of K-14 and E6 today. It's too late in the day. So we're going to make that part a part 2. We'll do curves, we'll do side-by-side comparisons, and we'll go from there. So it's really exciting. I'm super pumped about this. Granted, I didn't shoot the old K-14 at all. I was definitely too late for that into darkroom. But it's back. For those of you who really want to do it, you can. This is how. Watch for that announcement today to see when it's officially coming out. And we will see you next time.